Welcome back to the 2020 BCAN Holiday Show. We're gonna switch our tune here as our next guest needs no introduction. The host of Rise Up Live, show producer of 419 by Design, Eric Oblander. Eric, what's happening in the music scene this last year?
One of the main things that happened was that a lot of my friends, and your friends too, who are musicians especially, were hit really hard by this situation. A lot of them lost gigs because there's nowhere to play. There's nothing open. People are scared. What I started seeing was these live streams on like Facebook and stuff, and I thought, well, why don't we run those on the network? Because they're great. I mean, they're not quite studio quality, but they're cool because they're like people's living rooms or kitchens. And most musicians know how to shoot stuff correctly. So what we did was I asked these musicians to send me like a set, a half-hour-ish set of their music. And what we did was we ran it as Rise Up Live, like kind of an at-home edition, and then we put their PayPal info so people could reach out and tip them and, just learn more about them on their websites or something like that. I think it was like a cool thing. We just wanted to help somehow, and there's kind of a gray area there with musicians and artists, and the best thing we can do is just do what we do best, which is put it on our cool channel, so we did it.
I love the way that you just revamped the entire show. I mean, I helped with one of those shoots, and I'm telling you what, it was difficult to be on the floor of my living room in between a couch and a wall, trying to get that perfect angle of what I was shooting. But it was a lot of fun, and you had a lot of really great musicians on the show.
You did great on that, by the way, too. Because that was one of the first ones. And I'll tell you this, your subject, Devin, your husband, he ended up being on Rise Up as a regular person and on our Riff Academy thing. So that was all because of that.
His ego is getting so big. It's amazing to see all the local musicians continuing their craft and making the best of this situation. What are some of the favorite stories that you've done for Rise Up?
One of the ones we did was we worked with the Toledo Symphony. They had worked with this guy named Daniel Bernard Romaine, DBR, and they performed an entire list of his music, and he's like a world famous violinist and composer. He's like kind of a social activist and world renowned. So through the symphony, I got to actually interview him for the show, even though he's not a local guy.
Artists and musicians have always led the way. They speak truth to power. They are sentinels. They are storytellers and truth tellers.
And he had lots of, advice for musicians and the youth of today. And speaking of that, one of the cool things that we also got to do on the show this year was shine a spotlight on some of the new talent and younger talent, in some cases extremely young, because we did a story with the Toledo Symphony School of Music, and there's little teeny kids out there performing violin that I got to go cover for the show, doing right outside the glass pavilion at the museum, and that was adorable, but also they were really great. And then there's a lot of young cool bands like Rover over the summer, and we went out to this super secret outdoor socially distant thing we wore masks, and the whole band was wearing masks, and everyone was spread out, and they did this rock show at a cul-de-sac. And it was so cool. It was great. And then younger bands, a band called Equipment, who are super fun and cool, and they're kind of real plugged in. They've toured a lot, and people maybe not even know who they were. A lot of people do, but it was cool to have them on too.
Eric, it was awesome catching up with you. Before we go for our next break, tell the good people when the next season of 419 by Design is airing.
All right, so the next season of 419 by Design, the debut episode is January 5th at 7:30, and this season's crazy. It's so great. I've gone to so many amazing places. We're doing glass blowing and robotics, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff coming this season. You're gonna love it, so tune in, please, and check it out.
Well, you heard it right here. The newest season of 419 by Design is premiering January 5th. We're up against another break, but more BCAN holiday show coming your way after this.